No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour. Need sleepy. Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
Good morning. We're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Glad to be with you this morning. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, an Italian restaurant located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out his website, and you'll start drooling. Guarantee you'll start drooling. You're going to pack up the family truckster and get right on over to Sal's. www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328. 912-268-2328. Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria.com. Don't forget about that. And speaking of Sal, I got his shirt on today. I know everybody's going to be asking me how they can get one, and I'll get to that a little bit. Actually, I'll get to it right now. We're going to be doing a pre- and post-fight show for next week's big fight between Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. So if you're looking to get some info about joining us for that, drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. The new issue's out now. You can get yourself a copy by visiting www.billycboxing.com and clicking on the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover, which is right on the right-hand side, or answer today's trivia question correctly, and I'll send you a copy. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can literally get a copy of it right now if you go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Now, if you're looking to get a signed copy, don't worry about it. I'll hook you up. Just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section and follow the directions. And they're easy, okay? Yeah, it's not like you need somebody to interpret them. They're very easy. Just pick out where you are. You're in the States, you click that one. You're outside the U.S., you click the other one, and boom, you're in. Today, we got to talk about, and don't forget, tomorrow, Fan Driven Friday, we'll be opening up the phone line. So make sure you mark that one down if you got some questions, comments, concerns, opinions, all that stuff. Tomorrow's the day. Or you can always just email me, because if you take the time to drop me an email, I'll take the time to read it on air. Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Now, yesterday we talked about Deontay Wilder making it official. We all knew that Chris Arreola was going to be the front runner for his fight. But my question today, my topic of the day, and my big question: when is Deontay Wilder going to fight a relevant heavyweight? I mean, listen, we all want to see him fight Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Luis Ortiz. I mean, we all want to see him fight one of those guys, right? But let's be real. We understand that the politics of boxing prevent that. It sucks. But the politics prevent it, okay? But there's some other big names that are on the rise, Pulov, Lucas Brown, even Joseph Parker. I mean, there are some other names that he could fight. But the truth of the matter is that the heavyweight division today is extremely weak. And, on one hand, I blame Wilder, and on the other hand, it's like, well, who else he's going to fight? But the issue that I have is the guy pounds his chest and says he's the best heavyweight out there, and then he picks Chris Arreola. Joining me right now, my partner in crime from beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Hey, good morning, Bill. How are you today, Bill?
Not too bad. What's your thoughts on this, man? Deontay Wilder, he pounds his chest. He says he's the best. He says, that he wants to be the undisputed, this and that, and he picks Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola, it was a part of the discussion of the heavyweight division several years ago. His last 3 fights, he's won 1-1 against 3 nondescript, less than journeyman level fighters. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are this right here. Deontay Wilder, he's got a record of 35 wins, 0 defeats with 35 knockouts. I mean, where
he's got 35 knockouts. I think he's got 36 wins.
36.
Yeah.
You're right. 36 wins, 0 defeats with 35 knockouts. If you were not an avid fight fan, you wouldn't even know what the name Deontay Wilder is. Where in the boxing world history have you had a heavyweight with that type of record who pounds himself on the chest, calls himself the greatest? Excuse me, Ali. I didn't want to make any disrespect there. But the whole thing is, he's unknown. He's an unknown entity. I don't know, basically. And that's the mistake or misdirection of I don't know, his people, marketing, or himself, whatever. I just don't understand how a heavyweight champion with a record of 36 wins, 0 defeats with 35 knockouts is not a household name. And certainly fighting competition, whether he picks his opponents or whether the opponents are thrown at him and he's selecting out of a group or whatever, I know he's got a pass with this one due to the last contender that he was going to face came up positive with a drug test. So, okay, he gets to choose this guy in the top 10. But the bottom line is, it should not be something that we see on a regular basis. This guy should be having a steady diet of competition that's ranked in the top 5, let alone the top 10.
Well, the thing is this. In all due respect to Deontay Wilder, the heavyweight division isn't exactly chock full of talented fighters. There's no question about that. People, for example, people said that about Mike Tyson's era. You mentioned Muhammad Ali. I mean, Muhammad Ali's era happened to have been chock full of a plethora of talented heavyweights that, he got to fight, and he had some other parallel level fighters that was able to, create his legacy, a la Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Kenny Norton, etc. Mike Tyson, he kind of was around at the end of that era, to beat up an old Larry Holmes. But the difference between Mike Tyson and Deontay Wilder, at least in my opinion, is Mike Tyson actually fought everybody that was in the division. He didn't duck anyone. There wasn't a heavyweight that was active when Mike Tyson was fighting that he didn't fight. Deontay Wilder, you can't say that. You mentioned his record with all the knockouts and stuff, but show me a name on there that is a quality fighter. The only guy that we can come close to saying is a quality fighter was Berman Stavern. And Berman Stavern is a fighter that we've learned maybe shouldn't have even been given that accolade. So my hang up with Deontay is he pounds his chest and says he's so great. And I don't see it. And you're 100% right, Sal. He should be a household name, but that's the problem. The problem is that a lot of young fans just specifically look at the record. And they assume, like I was saying to Larry Hazard yesterday, all the headlines as they promote undefeated fighter facing undefeated fighter. Undefeated has become the young fan of today has been brainwashed to associate the word undefeated or a 0 with quality, and that's it's so far from the truth.
No, it's so far from the truth. You don't have no idea what the level of competition they face to come up the ranks and stuff, and that is very misleading at many times, especially today.
For me, Deontay Wilder, you're right. The issue with Povetkin, and that's another thing. I think that Deontay Wilder's team is jumping for joy. I think they all knelt down and said a prayer to the big guy upstairs when there was a trace of whatever the heck that stuff was in Povetkin's system. And now they're making a big deal. He's a cheater. He's a steroid user. He's this. He's that. I think they're happy that they didn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
to fight him. You know, but my hang up with that whole situation is that it's a question mark, because number one, it was a substance, and again, I've never claimed to be an expert on PEDs, and I don't want to be, but from what I understand, is that it was a newly added PED that was on the banned list. So the trace that was found could have been left over or whatever, is what they say. Plus, the agency that was testing it reports everything, every little trace, versus the other Olympic-style testing company, which does not. They have some kind of leeway. I don't know what the percentage is or whatever, but the bottom line is, you know, they test it again and it's out of his system. So I don't even know if that would have made a difference for him. You know, so for them to run behind that, and even the WBC, who has no morals at all, they didn't even remove Povetkin from the number one spot. So it's a pretty cloudy situation there.
Very convoluted, it looks like. And you know, as you said, Deontay Wilder, he's probably jumping for joy because maybe he thought it was going to be in pretty tough with Povetkin. And I thought it was going to be a good fight myself. And,
I think that I wanted to see it because I felt that if Deontay Wilder could get past Povetkin, then maybe he is one of the top 2 or 3 heavyweights in the world. And quite honestly, I guess you could say he's a legitimate based on the division. You know, I mean, of course, I think that Anthony Joshua will emerge as the best heavyweight, you know, out there, as long as we get to fight. Listen, I have a couple of emails I want to read.
Go ahead.
But first, I want to talk about an issue that I've kind of been associated with, and this is the Tony Zale and Carmen Basilio belts that was stolen from the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
Unbelievable.
Well,
unbelievable how that could happen.
Really quick, for anybody that doesn't know the story, back in November, there was a break-in at the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and all that was stolen was Tony Zale's belts and Carmen Basilio's belts. So there was a total of eight belts stolen. Nothing else was taken. And I interviewed the Zale family, specifically Ted Zale and his daughter, who, and by the way, Ted Zale is the nephew of the late, great Tony Zale, and Ted's daughter, Haley, beautiful actress. She kind of has taken the front seat of this whole situation, and we had her on as well, and we talked about it, and I gave my opinions then of how strange this whole situation was to me, and I've since learned a little more, etc., etc. Well, there was an article that was put out in the Huffington Post yesterday concerning this, and it was actually written by their crime writer, and I think it's worth reading if you can see it. Punch it up, do a search, Huffington Post and the Zale belts, and basically the Zale family has requested the resignation of Ed Brophy, who's the director of the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and their main reason is because these guys aren't giving the Zale family any respect of even communicating with what the situation is. The article, the police in Canastota, they're trying to make this like a big crime syndicate came up to Canastota and broke in and just took those belts. I find it pretty funny, Sal, because it seems like Petticoat Junction up there. Barney Fife is running the police department. You know, Barney Fife is running the police department, and it just seems to me knowing everything, and by the way, Ed Brophy's not too happy with me because of my opinion, but it's still my opinion. To me, it seems like, you know, they're trying to shovel it under the carpet. They figured nobody would complain, and they were dead wrong with the Zale family. The bottom line is this: there was the Zale family wanted them to acknowledge that they effed up. And they haven't. They haven't apologized to them or anything. And then every time the Zale family asks for some updates, what's going on? Is there anything with the investigation? They don't get return calls, not only from anyone from the International Boxing Hall of Fame, but the police department as well. They found out that there was an insurance policy put on the belt. Now, let me ask you this.
Inside job.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, I said that from day one. But check this out.
Ask the suspicious Italian what it is. It's an inside job.
But check this out, Sal. First of all right, the insurance policy is taken out. Now, I understand that the hall has a right to take out an insurance policy, and they could do it just like a promoter can take an insurance policy out on a fighter. Okay, but they also have a contract with the Zale family stating that the property, the belts, are still property of the Zale family and that they were on loan to the hall for display. So the Zale family says, hey, you got an insurance policy. How much is it for? Who's the beneficiary? Was it paid? And the Boxing Hall of Fame won't answer those questions. I find that extremely strange because, if your car gets stolen, right? If your car gets stolen and the police start an investigation, don't you have a right to find out where they're at with the car? I mean, can't you call and say, hey, have you found? Nope, no leads. Call me next week. Nope, no leads. I mean, they're not even doing that. Doesn't it seem strange?
It does seem very strange. And you think they would at least be hand in hand with communication with the family members to say, hey, you know what? We're going to look into this. We're going to give you an update, and call us once a week, and we'll take care of it, and we'll do everything we can within our power and within our realm of procuring these belts and getting back to the trophy case where they belong, and find out who's behind it. It's a shame, and probably was some type of job that I don't want to accuse anybody, but what the heck's going on here? You're because the Boxing Hall of Fame. It's not like there's millions of dollars of cash value. There's trophies. There's everything else. There's title belts. There's beautiful memorabilia of boxing from yesteryear and currently and contemporary. And it's going to be an item is worth what another person's willing to pay.
Exactly, and that's the key. That's the key. Because when push comes to shove, they weren't constructed out of solid gold and all of this. So where's the value? The value really is with the Zale family. This is what I think happened. I think, now keeping in mind, and this is just my thought, it's my opinion, I'm not accusing anybody, but here's my thought. I think, and considering how the Hall of Fame, for anybody that thinks that the Hall of Fame is in place, the Boxing Hall of Fame is in place all for the good of boxing, think again, because the people that are involved with that, basically it's like a family business, all right? And I'm not saying that they're doing anything bad or whatever, but it's supporting the family that runs it, all right? So here's the bottom line. I think that they, and this is just my opinion, based on them trying to not be up front and keeping that line of communication open, all of them, the police department, the insurance company, the people at the Hall of Fame, this is all one little community that makes its money on that one weekend, all right? I think what happened was that they figured that they would put in a little claim. I don't know what the insurance was. I figured they would take and make a claim, and nobody would notice, and that's the end of that, right? They have some value, and enter the Zale family, and they did notice, and now everybody is running around saying, "Oh no, what do we do now? What do we say? What do we do? Don't say anything. Don't say anything." Yeah, you can't keep doing that. I think it has to be escalated. I think that people should be looking into. I don't even think the Canastota Police Department has done anything about it. I think they look like Barney Fife. I really do, Sal.
They probably do, and the one branch you should be able to call, and the Zale family should try to get in touch with one of the heads of the insurance company, because before a claim is going to be paid out, you have insurance investigators go out there and see what happened and how it happened, because they got to pay out some, so they got to do their own internal investigation. Well, that's what happens.
Let me tell you what happened. They did.
Oh,
and
good job.
And when they called the insurance guy, the local, the guy who sold the policy, he says, "I can't comment on this. I have a wife and family, and I can't risk my job." So what does that tell you, man? I mean, I tell you what, if you're
as usual.
Hey, listen, if you're a relative of a late great boxing fan, think twice before you loan the International Boxing Hall of Fame any of your family heirlooms to be on display for the purpose of fans' enjoyment, and to be treated with the amount of disrespect that seems to be being handed out to the Zale family is pretty disheartening for me. But
sure it is. I mean, Bill, I have 5 gold medals that I won during my amateur career. Won a national competition, a state championship, and several other international bouts when I toured with the United States boxing team. And how many times I would love to display it in the pizzeria. And they're not real gold, by the way. They have beautiful ribbons. They're beautiful inscriptions in the back of the medals. But all I need to do is leave it there one night, and someone think that they're real gold, and they're gone. And what does it mean? You got a Sal Sinicola gold medal. Well, it means the world to me. I know what it took to win that fight and to win those medals. And it's something I want to have for my children one day. But I purposely don't bring it in there because I don't want somebody to think, oh yeah, hey, let's get these gold medals out of here.
Well, that's my point. The value,
and they're not going to be worth anything more than what somebody's willing to pay. And the only one willing to pay something would be a member of my family if they so choose to do so. If not, hey, guess what? It's just something that's gone.
That's my point. The value of this is definitely the majority of the value is with the Zale family, and they put their trust in the Hall of Fame, and the Hall of Fame is letting them down. It's like they're disrespecting them, and it's a shame. And to have the police tell a crime writer that they believe that a crime syndicate is at fault. Give me a break.
Give me a break. Come on. Let me tell you something.
You're telling me that there's
Barney Fife?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're telling me that there's an underground crime syndicate that's going after boxing memorabilia or sports memorabilia. If that's the case, who's got it? How can you display it? You can't.
In the Boxing Hall of Fame, this is not like the National or Museum of Natural History. This is a built. What is he? What would you call it?
What would I call it?
Smaller than you would ever anticipate.
It's a shack.
Listen. I was going to say, lack of a better term, a shack.
Listen, my house is no mansion. Okay, it's not. But let me tell you something. The Hall of Fame could fit. Literally, the whole Hall of Fame could fit on one level of my house. One level. One floor. The first floor could fit on easily, and that's not even the main floor. So I don't know, man. But if you get a chance, read it. It's on the Huffington Post. Just do a search on the Zale belt, Zale and Basilio belts, Huffington Post. You'll read it. Let me know what you think. Billy at Tuckin Boxing, TALKINBOXING.com. I got a couple of emails, Sal. Check this one out. This is from my man, Mitch. He says, hey, Billy C., I'm going to be at the weigh-in and the fight on next Saturday. He says, can you explain the LDL TV thing to me? I'm pumped up to hear some pre- and post-fight talk, especially if I can listen to the post-fight as I'm driving back from New York to Maryland, where I currently live. Hopefully, it's something I can pull up on my phone and listen while I'm driving. What a great question by my man Mitch, because you most certainly can listen after the fights if he's driving home from the fights, and anybody for that matter. If you watch the fights on TV, or if you are at the fights and you want to hear Sal and my post-fight comments, you can do it very easily. If you go to www.ldltv.com, it'll be streamed up there live. It'll also be under the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Ustream channel, which is also obtainable through ldltv.com, or there's actually a link on the front page of billycboxing.com. So that's where you can find it live. We may also have it on the YouTube page, but guaranteed LDLTV. I'm not sure about on our YouTube page, but ldltv.com. You can go to it, you can bring it up, and definitely listen to it on your phone. And we are doing a live pre- and post-fight show. Now, here's the thing. the that day, in addition to what I think is one of the best fights of the year in terms of relevancy of the division, two young welterweights around the same age facing each other in Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. In addition to that, the heavyweight fight between Dominic Breazeale challenging Anthony Joshua, which is going to be broadcast live from England on Showtime. Sal and I are going to watch that fight. Then we're going to come on and do our pre-fight for Thurman Porter, and we'll also be giving you our thoughts on the Anthony Joshua Dominic Breazeale fight. So you'll be getting the pre-fight thoughts and post-fight thoughts of the first fight, and then immediately following Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, we'll be doing a live post-fight show with our thoughts, and hopefully we will have phone lines open so we can get your thoughts, and it'll all be coming at you live from Sal's restaurant in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. So I'm looking forward to that, Sal.
Me too. It's going to be a great event. We're going to look forward to it. We have a good buzz on about it already. We have some fight fans that we've been cultivating, and I'll tell you what, we've got a big group of FLETC people, which is a federal law enforcement training center, which we love the men and women of FLETC. They're our frontline defense, and they frequent my establishment every day, and we love those guys and gals. They're very good, and the instructors as well. Great class, great group of people.
That's why I always come. That's why I always come in there with a disguise. I don't need them to know who I am. You never know. You never know.
We got more marshals and everything else.
Yeah. Jeez, I hate going to Sal's. It's like who's that guy? Who's the guy with the paper bag over his head? But
the unknown comic.
Yeah, there you go. Hey Chucky baby.
Chucky baby.
I got another email. This one's from Joel, our man Joel.
Hey,
he says,
Joel, how you doing, buddy?
He says, "Hey Billy C, I'm sure you heard about Brock Lesnar being allowed by Vince McMahon and the WWE who is under contract with a one-time deal to fight on the big UFC 200 show in July. They announced that on June 4th during UFC 199 that Brock was catapulted to the co-main event against a 42-year-old New Zealander named Mark Hunt, who is one of their top heavyweights with crushing one-punch power. I was wondering your thoughts on an athlete who was first a WWE wrestler, then a UFC fighter, now with the WWE, and being allowed to fight once again after a 4-year absence from the octagon. Joel says, I feel if he loses to Mark Hunt, which is possible, does it hurt his credibility in the WWE? Because the WWE builds him as a megastar that can destroy anyone. And what if he pops up for something before or after the fight? How would the WWE deal with him on that matter? I don't know about you, Sal, but to me, I just think that what this is a cross marketing deal between UFC and the WWE. I feel that the WWE, because of the nature of professional wrestling, scripted, so to speak, they can always change something around to benefit themselves. In other words, if he should lose, maybe they do a spin that he was something underhand was done. I don't know. I don't think it would affect him one bit. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I got to tell you the truth, Billy. I got lost after the second WW session, but I think that I don't think it'll hurt him because, as you said, these marketing giants, they know how to spin it, to turn it. In fact, I think they should get behind some of these these politicians. Maybe they'll learn how to spin that too.
Oh, that's a whole nother story. That's getting.
Well, we're not going to open that.
No, that's getting so out of hand. It's a joke. It's a joke. I mean, everybody makes you. No matter what side of the fence you're on, you got somebody trying to make you feel like an idiot for feeling the way you do. I don't know. And everybody pointing the fingers. They all had a chance to put up different people when both sides, the Democrats and the Democrats and the Republicans could have put up other people. I mean, it is what it is. Hey, speaking of that, Adonis Stevenson, who I believe is one of the guys that made a huge error in signing with Al Heyman. Now Al Heyman has come. His fighters have come around. They are fighting some good fights and stuff. So I will give credit where credit's due. But specifically, Adonis Stevenson, ever since he did his deal with Heyman, and then of course, ducked Sergey Kovalev, this guy has been a fighter that could have made a lot of money fighting Kovalev. And he's been like kind of out of the limelight. He's fighting literally not even top fighters, and he claims he's the best, and he claims he's almost like the same verbiage that comes out of Deontay Wilder's mouth. It was just announced yesterday, we didn't get really to talk about it, that he is fighting Thomas Williams, who's an up-and-coming light heavyweight with a record of 20 wins and 1 loss, 14 coming by knockout. His big claim to fame was he knocked out Edwin Rodriguez at the end of April. That's who he's fighting, and his previous fight was over club fighter Thomas Carpentier. I'm talking about Adonis Stevenson. I mean, he's 38 years old, 27-1 with 22 knockouts. The fight that everybody wants to see is him against Kovalev, and he just is ducking this guy. I mean, when do fans stop paying and wanting to see this guy? I mean, if it hasn't happened already, when do fighters like this get exposed, Sal?
And that's just it. These guys got to step up and basically get in that ring with the toughest, with the best, with the fans will see, and let them rise to the occasion or let them fall with the weight. And that's what they have to do. Push comes to shove. Let's see what's made inside and how they do. And that's what happens, especially at 38 years old. You don't have much time left.
Well, the thing is that in boxing, it really, like yesterday I was talking about how, and you and I touched on it, I think, on Monday. But, like when I was watching the fights this past weekend, and we did get some good ones, I couldn't help but listen to the opinions of the commentators, because some of the fights I was watching live, so I didn't get to fast forward through all that BS. But the opinions of the commentators, the comments from the cornermen, the trainers, they're giving accolades to fighters today, Sal, for doing very little. In other words, you look back in the history of the sport, and you see a fight. We were talking earlier about Tony Zale. Tony Zale. You look at him, and he was a body puncher. He did it time in and time out. It was something that he set his legacy up, fight after fight, opponent after opponent. He worked the body well. He had a solid chin. I mean, all these things he did on a regular basis. Today, it seems that fighters do, out of a 3-minute round, they do 30 seconds of something good, and that's what we're supposed to remember them by. I mean, how do a guy throws a left hook, one left hook that lands in a 3-minute round, and his corner's telling him, man, what a great job with that left hook. One punch? I mean, and then are the fans going to say he's known for his left hook because he landed one in a 3-minute round? I mean, I don't get it.
It's so funny. I'm channeling and processing all the different things, listening to you and everything else. And, is it because, I don't know, the earlier generations fought for themselves, their families, their God, their country, their spirit, their accolades, their future, their whole legacy? I don't know. Maybe that was their drivers. Everybody has to have a driver. What motivates you? What do you want to do? Do you want to put your thumbprint, or do you want to make a lasting impression and be a total entity that makes an impact? And I don't know. You got to find out what is their motivation, what's behind it. You made a great statement earlier when Mike Tyson, who was one of the last to do what he did in the heavyweight division. I mean, Mike Tyson built a whole aura about himself, being devastating, being this big, devastating puncher, and the way he moved as a 5'10" or and a half, whatever he might have been, so compact. He unleashed like a coil, tightly wound, and he took he separated their heads almost, basically. Devastating puncher. One of the most devastating punchers in the heavyweight division, the way he used to lay these guys out. But guess what? You never had to ask or question, well, is Mike Tyson going to fight the best? He wanted to prove he was the best. He fought everybody they would throw at him. And that's the difference. It's like we always said. You know what? When you are claiming you're the best, you're proposing you're the best, you're not fighting scared looking, well, I'll defend against this guy, and, well, I think I'll have a good time with this guy. He'll make me look good. No, you're looking who is the best out there. Who do the fans recognize that think they can give me competition? And let me go fight him and show everybody I'm the best. That's what we need.
Well, the thing is that, you know, the famous comment that fighters make that basically they're not looking for the best is when they say, my promoter, my manager decides who I fight. It's up to them. You know, fighters are listen, I've always said, if a fighter wants a fight, it gets made. All they got to do is pick up the phone and call their manager, call their promoter and say, hey, I want to fight so-and-so. End of story. You know, so to hide behind, oh, well, if my promoter says it's okay, I'm going to do it. That's BS. You know, and my point is that you mentioned, okay, carrying that train of thought, you mentioned Mike Tyson. You say something to Mike Tyson about Mike Tyson to a boxing fan, and they're going to immediately start to think about Mike Tyson. They're going to remember specific fights, maybe specific knockouts. Maybe even some fans think of him getting knocked out against Buster Douglas or Holyfield or Lewis or whatever. You know, but a lot of things come to mind. And we all know, you know, like you alluded to, he's a body puncher. He's a power puncher. You know, he had deceiving defense. He had hand speed. You know, you think of all the attributes that Mike Tyson had just when you mention his name. Now, if you fast forward and mention some of today's so-called stars, you know, I have the Billy C rankings right here, and you look at, you know, if we just take the heavyweights, you know, Tyson Fury is our number one guy because he beat Vladimir Klitschko. You know, you think of Tyson Fury, you know, what's his attributes? You know,
I don't know.
I don't know. You know, what is it? You know,
really
and you say, well, he's big.
He's big.
He's big. I mean,
he's a giant guy.
Yeah, he's a giant guy. You know, Vladimir Klitschko, he's number two. What's his attributes? Well, he's got a powerful right hand, and he's got a jab. But he's not exactly an exciting fighter. I mean, you know, you go down the list. I mean, you start looking at fighters in multiple divisions, and a lot of these guys, just things don't come to mind. You know, you can't remember, you know, fights with some of these fighters because they don't leave a lasting impact on you. You know, they're marginal. They're mediocre. They're average. You know, and yet they campaign as world champions, and they all pound their chest and say they're the best. It's just, I feel sorry for the young fan. I do. And all kidding aside, Sal, I feel sorry for them.
Well, you know, and it's so amazing because I'll always flash back and look. Anybody, especially in the heavyweight division, anybody ranked in the top 10 in the 70s, 80s, anybody would have been champ today easily, and done so in a great fashion, convincing fashion.
You know,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, it just is that clear as time goes on, and I think we just need a big wake up call, and you know, boxing is going to sustain a level of interest and gain the new fans coming up and young fans. They've got to really rethink how they're going to make boxing the exciting game and sport that I grew up and you grew up with, and everything else.
Well, you know, the thing is this, and here's the deal. On this show, if you take the time to email me your thoughts, whether you agree with something we say or disagree, or you have a comment or concern or whatever, if you email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, I take the time to respond. Now, I do happen to notice, you know, other comments that are on social media sometimes, or even our YouTube posts and podcast posts. You know, people leave comments and stuff, and sometimes I check them out. And, you know, I don't really read them on air because there's too many. But I'll give you an example. I get a lot of comments with things I say. Like, for example, Triple G, right? I say Triple G is the best middleweight. And then you have fans out there that will criticize my statement and say, well, he has to fight somebody. He hasn't fought anybody. He's not the best fighter out there in that weight class and blah, blah, blah. He hasn't fought, Andre Ward. He hasn't fought Ursulandi Lara. He hasn't fought, and I say to myself, what the hell you want this guy to do? Hold a gun to these guys' heads and make them fight. I mean, Triple G has not backed away or refused to fight anyone. I don't see anyone asking to fight Triple G. The one guy that did fought him and got knocked out, and that was Willie Monroe. Same thing with Lomachenko. The other day, I feel that Vasily Lomachenko is the real deal. I think when it's all said and done, this guy's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. This guy's going to be considered an all-time great. Does he have a lot of fights now? No. He's got 7. He's 6 wins and 1 loss with 3 knockouts. But he had 400 amateur fights. And the thing is it shows. You watch this guy fight, and those 7 fights are against all world class. Oh, at least 5 of the fights are against world class opposition. In his well, I guess you could argue all at least 6 of them are. He fought for a world title in his second fight against Orlando Salido. He lost the fight, but he fought the fight, and he's improved. Everything I see, and then I get comments go, you don't know what you're talking about. He's got to fight more fights. What? Are we just looking at numbers? Would you rather see him fight 10 fights against world-class fighters or fight 30 fights against the Deontay Wilder level opponents? I don't get it, Sal.
No, you made a good point, too. And for all intents and purposes, these guys from these blocks of countries that have these hundreds of amateur fights, they're professional amateurs.
Exactly.
They come in with a world of experience. The only difference is they have to condition their body, their time, and their strategy for a long, durable fight. 10 rounds, 12 rounds. Should go back to 15. But anyway, I agree with you. I mean, Lomachenko is one of the future stars of this game in his young professional career of 7 or 8 fights. This guy is going to be around. He does it all. I love to watch him, and I'm very glad that we do have some future stars. Same thing with Triple G. Same thing if Canelo, gets back on track. Hey, someone told me last night, and I'm sure it's a rumor because I haven't heard anything from you. Someone came in the restaurant about 11 o'clock last night and said, hey, Sal, did you hear Triple G and Canelo just signed a contract to fight in November? Are you hearing anything about this?
Absolutely not.
Thank you very much.
I think that the fight will happen, but it's not going to happen this year. They're trying to marinate it. Listen, the thing is this. The longer that they don't fight, the advantage really falls in Canelo's lap because he's so much younger. He's 10, 12 years younger than Triple G. Triple G is one of those fighters that had an extensive amateur career, turned pro late, and time is his biggest enemy. You and I always say, Sal, time in boxing, time is everyone's enemy. Whether you're a fighter, whether you're a promoter, whether you do a radio show, time is your enemy. And, the longer certain fighters wait to make those fights, that's what's a lot of criticism against fighters that, waited a long time before they make the fight everybody wants to see, and then you end up kind of cheating the public because you're not getting 2 fighters at their best fighting each other. Similar to what we are going to get this next weekend with Porter and Thurman. You got 2 young fighters in their prime fighting each other. That has become the exception in the sport of boxing. It used to be the norm, So, I mean, that's one of the big problems with the sport. But guys like Lomachenko and Triple G, I don't know about Triple G because I think that, he's already pushing his mid-30s. I don't know if he's going to make a long-term impact as much as I honestly believe that Vasily Lomachenko will make. Vasily Lomachenko will become a Hall of Famer. He will become considered an all-time great. I think it's obvious. And the best part about this kid, Sal, is he wants to do it. He seems, wanting to challenge himself. He enjoys it. Listen, Rocky Martinez, although he's been in a lot of battles and he's got some mileage on him, I thought that was an extremely impressive win to knock him out like that. Roman Rocky Martinez has been in many, many fights with bangers and ended the fight on his feet. He ended this fight flat on his back, wondering what month it was.
Absolutely. And, before that, I had Lomachenko pitching a shutout with the scorecards anyway, up to that fourth round. But, yeah. And I think you're right. I concur with you there. I think Lomachenko is going to be one of the future stars that can build a big legacy in this game of boxing. And I think there's going to be a lot of attention focusing on him in the future. So my hat off to him and the people out there that do what they want to do, and that's fight. Let's get them in the ring.
The funny thing about Triple G and Canelo, just jumping back to that for a second, when you look at those two fighters, to be honest with you, I think that Triple G has other options if guys like Daniel Jacobs are willing to fight him or Billy Joe Saunders is willing to fight him. He's got those options because, he can continue with his plan to just, clean up the division, so to speak, collect all the belts. Canelo, by vacating the WBC belt recently, I think he's eliminated, not that I feel that belts are important because I certainly don't, but I think he's eliminated some of his options because realistically, what's he going to do? Why would Billy Joe Saunders fight Canelo Alvarez when he could get the same money to fight Triple G with more at stake? You know what I mean? I mean, these guys are looking for big paydays in the least amount of fights. I think Saul Canelo Alvarez needs the Triple G fight more than Triple G needs it. What do you think?
I think exactly that. I think Triple G is still a bigger name, a bigger entity to market, and definitely can call in for a bigger purse. And I don't know with Canelo Alvarez's his marketability and his value is certainly one that's rising, but he's not doing it just yet without a Triple G. That's the big payday. That's a great fight. There's nobody else out there that can match that level to give that kind of money that these guys would want to call for.
Listen to the background where you are in St. It sounds like you're at a bird sanctuary. What do you got? What do you got? All the
door closed.
I mean, what do you got? All the birds are like knocking on the window. Tell them they can't.
Fox News on in the background with little whispers, but barely could hear anything. But I got the freaking birds chirping out there. I feel like I'm in a jungle.
I know you got to tell them. Listen, if they want to come on air, they obviously want to get their airtime.
Oh no!
I mean, they want to get their airtime. I'm geez, I'm hearing all these birds. I'm like, geez,
singing. Hey, sounds better than my singing.
Next thing you know, you're gonna get parrots talking in the background. I mean, come on, man.
I can do that. I can arrange all that.
It's funny.
Billy, where I live now, it's really, I love the area on this island I live. It's on the north end of the island. It's right by the Hampton Marina, and right out my back window, off the balcony of my bedroom, I have a view of the big Hampton River that goes to the ocean and the marina, a swimming pool, and then I got my downstairs where I'm doing a show. I got this beautiful deck out back with a screen porch, and that's where you're hearing the birds from, pal. Either that or I got my chimney flue also open, which they're probably in the chimney. That's why it's resonating and echoing.
Why don't you feed the poor bastards? Maybe they'll shut up, But
I can see if I have any pizza left.
Throw. You know what? That's what you do. Throw them some pizza. They'll get all fat. They'll end up with diabetes. Then you'll have the what do they call that? The what's the bird society? Something bond, right?
Yeah, there you go.
What is something bond? I forget it. It's anyway. They'll be contacting you because you'll be giving all the birds in St. Simon's diabetes from all the dough that they'll be eating. But anyway.
You're funny. I didn't know you could hear it.
God! I mean, I'm all paranoid too because we got birds, but geez, it sounds like you Toucan. I'm waiting for Toucan Sam to come on. I mean,
he might just pop in himself.
I'm like, what is Sal like collecting birds? What does he got? What's he in the middle of a flower park? I mean, come on, man. But anyway, really looking forward to next week, Sal. We'll have a lot of fun as usual, and
oh yeah,
we will. Just a programming note: we will be doing shows next week. I believe we're going to be able to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm pretty sure, or at least Monday and Wednesday. I think we're going to be able to do shows, or Monday and Tuesday. I know we'll get at least 2 shows next week before I head south. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. Now, don't forget, tomorrow is going to be a fan-driven Friday. As usual, Sal and I will open up the phone lines, and we'll get you on one at a time. We're not going to get multiple callers in, but we will put one at a time on tomorrow to get your thoughts. So get all of that together, and you guys will be driving the show tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Sal, a little slow in the boxing world today. There's not much else to discuss. I mean, I do have some quotes from Arreola and Deontay Wilder, but to me, it's a joke. I just think that I'm just so sick of the sport being a smokescreen and smoke and mirrors, and what aggravates me, and on one hand it makes me real mad, and on the other hand it makes me sad, because the young fans today, especially, and I understand the passion, they stick up for their generation. You and I did for ours, and our parents did for theirs, and everybody does. I get it. But I feel sorry because they just don't understand what we're talking about. You look at the rankings, and you got the Charlo brothers. I mean, whoever's the Charlo brothers in the junior middleweight division, right? Obviously they're quality fighters by today's standards. But who have they fought? I mean, when you really look at it, who have they fought? Even a guy like Demetrius Andrade, who I feel is a quality fighter. Really, when you look at his resume, his last now the phones are ringing over there. I don't know.
That was a bird. No, that was a bird.
Oh, that was the bird phone. The phone bird. But
phone bird.
Anyway, it's just I feel bad. I feel bad for the younger fans. They don't, and for them to even think that some of what we see on TV and ringside is the sweet science, and to think that a fighter goes back to his corner after fighting for 30 seconds of a 3-minute round, and his corner's jumping for joy, telling him he did a great thing. It saddens me, man.
Well, I know, and you and I have endured that, and you said something earlier. I mean, our fathers, they used to speak about their boxing generations being the best and all this stuff. We've done the same, and hopefully one day our kids are going to say the same, but I doubt it.
What are they going to say? I mean, that's the sad part. What are the kids going to say? I mean, who are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about what? You mention, I'm not mentioning a specific fighter's name ever again on this show, but you talk about a guy like him. What fight comes to mind?
No,
I mean, what performance comes to mind? I mean, you have to go back a decade to even find a good one. And it's a joke. It's a joke.
It's so funny. I've been answering polls online. When I go around, and they were asking, would you pay for a Mayweather McGregor fight?
I don't want to mention his name on this show.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and we'll call him just the M word. And I hit no. I wouldn't pay for it. Just like I wouldn't pay for a Pacquiao rematch.
Well, it's going to happen, and unfortunately, you will be paying for it.
You're right. I know.
And so will I, and so will everyone that says that they're not. They will. And that's the truth. But but my point is. And I hate to keep saying it, but there's, there are some bright spots. You got guys like Lomachenko. I think Anthony Joshua is going to make an impact. Hopefully, Deontay Wilder. Yeah. Deontay Wilder, as much as I'm critical of him, I think that it's just, I think he's a puppet. And I really think that they did a successful job, they meaning the team around him, to make him believe what they're saying. And I think that he truly, honestly believes that he's the best. It's like I remember getting an email from one of the viewers and listeners that said it's kind of like a joke that everyone's in on except for him. And it's kind of true, because when you look at him,
an analogy.
Yeah, well, when you look at Deontay Wilder, really, there's not one name on his resume, not one. Now, Chris Arreola, when push comes to shove, as much as we're all criticizing Deontay Wilder for fighting Chris Arreola turns out to be the best name on his resume, even though Chris Arreola lost to the guy that Deontay Wilder beat for the title. Even though that happened, the truth of the matter is Chris Arreola's resume is the best overall resume of a fighter that Deontay Wilder has fought. And we all saw what Chris Arreola is going to get knocked out because he can't avoid it. If Deontay Wilder uses his jab, he's going to knock out Chris Arreola fairly quickly. Chris Arreola's been dropped. He's going to hit him with a right hand straight down the pike, being set up by the jab, and bam, it's going to be over. It's over.
However, let's be devil's advocate. Here's Chris Arreola. First of all, you can't blame him. This is his third shot at a World Heavyweight Championship fight, and maybe third time's a charm. What if he gets lucky and throws a wild punch? He's a strong guy, and maybe he'll catch Wilder on chin, and you and I'll be discussing how he's the new heavyweight champion. I don't know. It could happen.
The funny thing is, I always liked Chris Arreola.
I know you did.
Even though he doesn't dedicate himself enough, which I know eats you up. But I always liked him. I thought he had more potential than he has shown. But the new Chris Arreola, the Chris Arreola of the last several years, is nothing like the Arreola I used to like. And I really think he's become nothing more than a punching bag, and I think he's there for the payday, and he's just thankful to be there. I mean, some of the comments that Deontay Wilder made about Chris Arreola, he says, as you see, Chris Arreola stayed patient. You wonder why he continued to get title fights, because it's his time. Some guys get chances after chances and some don't. You can't deny him. You can't look past him. With circumstances that we're facing, to come back and do a short notice type fight like this, you're looking for opponents, and we knew he was the right person. Yeah, as he's trying to give Chris Arreola accolades, really, it's Deontay Wilder's team that picked him because they know that he's not a threat.
They know he's got short notice. They know, yeah, let's look at it this way. From a standpoint of leveraging your fighter, you're looking at who you have to choose from. And Chris Arreola is probably the best opponent to preserve Deontay Wilder's career in an undefeated fashion and also get a good title defense underneath his belt. On the Arreola end, if he does something incredibly challenging for himself to rise to the occasion, to be serious, to get ready for this fight, and just look at any potential weakness where he could study the films, see what Wilder might be vulnerable to, and goes in there trying to execute that one thing, and then with a backup in mind. You know what? Maybe Arreola might just pull that trigger and stun a lot of people. I doubt it. It's the laws of averages are against it. But again, what I love about boxing is, on any given night, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, Chris Arreola, I think, says it all. He says, "I'm thankful to Deontay Wilder for this opportunity."
You go. He's lulling him into complacency.
I'm thankful.
He's lulling him into complacency.
Basically, he's like, "I'm thankful for Deontay Wilder for this opportunity and cutting me a check." He says he's proven he has proven a great deal by winning the title and defending it 3 times. You see, that statement, that line right there, is what's wrong with the sport. Just because you win a title, which, by the way, is the value of titles are down to turlet. But just by winning a title and defending it, he's getting accolades. They're not mentioning who he's defended it against. They're not mentioning, anything other than the fact that he's got a title and he's made defenses. I get it that if you fought your sister 50 times, she's going to win one of the fights. I get it. But still, you can't listen. If Deontay Wilder didn't pound his chest and say he's the best ever, the best out there now, I wouldn't have a problem. But once you say that, once you start doing that kind of crap, you open yourself up for criticism like we're giving him today. But
Well, it's so funny. I'm looking in the chat room, and Coach K just he has a statement out here which is so big. Think of Deontay Wilder. Does he have any kind of career-defining fight? Has he had that yet? I don't see it, and that's just it. We have to have these fighters that have something that puts them in the public's eye. That was, whether they come back from behind, whether they are in a war, whether they're doing something. There's usually what gains one's marketability and their legacy starting to build is when they have a career-defining moment and they rise to the occasion. They do something incredibly genius and passionate with their body, heart, mind, and spirit that puts them on the map as being, wow, now this guy's a real fighter.
right.
And these guys don't do this today.
Well, there's a lot of fighters, not just him, but there's a lot of ones, But anyway, hey Sal, we're gonna wrap it up here, and I got our trivia question. I'm gonna ask everyone now. What's on the line? If you get this, the last two were hard. None of you guys got it, so we're gonna give you a different one. So I want to thank Henry Haskup for hooking us up with some tough trivia questions. And I have one here. And if you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com with the correct answer, you'll win a copy of the JKJ Boxing Magazine, the latest JKJ Boxing Magazine that I'll send right out to you. Here is the question. Who was the first man to hold the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF world title belts simultaneously? Who was the first man to hold the WBC, WBA, and IBF title belts simultaneously?
Wow.
If you know this answer, and you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win a copy of the JKJ Boxing Magazine. Good luck to everyone on that. You got any ideas on that one, Sal?
Yeah, I do. It had to be in the mid-'80s.
Well, it's easy to figure that out because
it's a process of elimination.
Exactly,
because
the
methodical way of thinking.
Well,
okay, now I got to go back and
see. Sal's right. He just gave you a big hint because all three of those belts weren't available until the '80s. Good point.
That's right.
Yeah, see, Sal. The birds are. He's got some birds in his ears. He's got some birds.
I got a bird. And you know what? They stopped chirping.
Yeah. Well, you know what? What'd you do? Throw him a slice?
About a half a pizza.
Yeah. This day in boxing history, June 16th, in 1995, Fabrice Tazio wins a 12-round decision over Mike McCallum to win the WBC World Light Heavyweight title. It took place in France. On this day in 1949, Jake LaMotta knocks out Marcel Cerdan in the 10th round to win the World Middleweight title. It took place in Detroit. On this day in 1983, Roberto Duran knocks out Davey Moore in the 8th round to win the WBA World Junior Middleweight title. It took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. On this day in 1995, Carl Daniels wins a 12-round decision over Julio Cesar Green to win the vacant WBA World Junior Middleweight title, and that took place in France. On this day in 1972, remember this name, Hedgeman Lewis wins a 15-round decision over Billy Backus to win the vacant New York World Welterweight title. It took place in Syracuse. On this day in 2007, Paulie Malignaggi wins a 12-round decision over Lovemore Nadeau to win the IBF World Junior Welterweight title. It took place in Connecticut. And on this day in 1979, Ernesto España knocks out Claude Noel in the 13th round to win the vacant WBA World Lightweight title, and that took place in Puerto Rico on this day in June 1979. Hey, Sal, that concludes our show for today. You got any final thoughts?
No, I just have to do some panning of the computer here. I want to study some of these upcoming fights here and look at what's going to be down the road 6 months to a year from now, and see if we can promote a fight that needs to be put together. Maybe we can actually be the catalyst that'll help some of these potential super fights come together. We just got to start talking about it.
Yeah, well, the first step is the guy's got to be willing to fight each other.
I know.
That's the
Well,
problem.
that's an important detail.
Yeah,
Thank
that's a small detail we need to have. Hey, listen,
And
man.
I'm going to open up a whole investigation committee about the title belts missing from the.
Well,
whole
I
thing.
think, and all kidding aside, I think that we should do our own investigation and chronicle it with LDL TV, film it, and then make a movie out of it because it's at least the boxing community cares. We could be
Yes,
Columbos. We could be like, hey, just one more thing.
Excuse me, just one more thing.
Did you
Didn't
happen
tell
to
me,
see,
ma'am? What about this?
It's like just one more thing. Are you,
Are you telling me?
my
Now,
aunt.
did you say the door was locked at this time,
No.
or was it in the morning?
No, it's more like excuse me, my aunt had a similar case to this. Is this how this opens? I mean, the way she used to open hers was she used to kind of jiggle it a little bit, and that's how. Do you think that's how the belts came out? I mean, I don't mean to bother you, but my wife really likes the way that belt looks.
Billy, you
Classic.
got talent, pal. That's beautiful.
Columbo is my favorite. But anyway, hey, listen, don't forget tomorrow, fan-driven Friday. So make sure you tune in and get all your thoughts and comments and everything. I'm Billy C. Sal Senicola. Until next time, ciao, baby.
Ciao. Thank you, Billy.